Georgia, Georgia, the whole day through. Just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. Georgia on my mind.
You're now listening to the Palmetto Dugout Show, hosted by State Director Sammy Esposito, Associate Scouts Drew Stewart and Sean Smith, that discuss all things related to amateur baseball in South Carolina. Here are your hosts.
Welcome in to episode 89 of the Palmetto Dugout Show. Like we've been doing it for 89 years. Well, we got Coach Espo. What's going on, Coach?
Coach, what's happening? We're back at it after a long week. You're back at it in the classroom. It's a lot going on. A lot happening.
You put in more hours than me, but I put in 58 hours in 4 days. That's pretty incredible for little old South Carolina.
You know, it's the hip kind of went out right off the bat, like hour two. We just had to fight our way through the concrete jungle down there at Lake Point. And just keep battling through a couple rain delays. You know, it is what it is. And you just battle through, but you got a lot to watch, a lot of great baseball, and had a lot of fun along the way. And now we're at it, and we're about to do some more baseball here at the end of this week.
I can't wait. I mean, it just feels like it's Christmas time. It's like Christmas Eve was Lake Point, and Christmas Day is the Super Sophomore games. I'm so excited. I'm getting all these gifts coming in too. It's a fantastic time to work for prep baseball. So as we start this show off, we'll recap the three different events that happened at Lake Point, and we start off with the big one, Coach. Future Games was once again one of the best event in the country. 425 college coaches, Coach. And little old South Carolina took the first team ever in the state history down to Lake Point, finished 2-1, and made themselves the real Carolina.
Good, 425. So obviously, this is something that we've talked about before, and we will continue to talk about it as long as ain't as long as we're part of this company. This is something that when I was in the coaching side, I recruited. Right, it was something you did. It was the must do event of the summer, and obviously as it kept gaining traction, it was something that just started off as a small Midwest event and has grown into what it is today, where almost every state is represented across the country. I mean, we had 20 Hawaiians, I think, that were out there playing, and so pretty much almost every state, I'm not going to say everyone, had a player represented, and it's an event to where a college coach can go into one area and not just one area, in 4 fields, one pod, and watch players from all over the country. And until you go down and see this and see it firsthand, and we get it every year, right? Every year we get this and we see it, and parents respond back to us or post stuff or thank us personally and go, or players go, it was the best baseball, the most fun thing I've ever seen, or on top of that, the most intimidating thing I've ever seen in my entire life at first. Because it's 425 college coaches. And the one thing I did think that helped make that number grow this year from, I think it was close to 380 last year, was the senior futures games.
Yes.
And you're sitting in one area and you have all those coaches from across the country. And that number would have been higher if it wasn't for the Delta flight cancellations that were affected across the country, where I do know that there were some coaches that I spoke to that their flights were canceled and they couldn't make it. So 425 would have been higher. I don't know what that number would have been. Would it have been 426 or 450 or what it would have been? But I knew that number would have been higher due to the cancellation. So it is a one-stop shop for all college coaches to be in one area and to see players from all over it. And what this event does, and people go, well, what if what if little Timmy just wants to stay in state? Well, that's great, but it opens up doors everywhere, right? It opens up doors whether a kid from South Carolina wants to go up to North Carolina, to Georgia, to Mississippi, to wherever it is. It opens up doors because those coaches are all over the place. And if you look at any of our games when we were playing, there were schools from all over watching our games, and that opens it up. And like you said, our guys went out there and put on a show. I mean, they went 2-1, and we had guys that really opened some eyeballs. They were known around the state of South Carolina, and now they're really known all over the country. And they put it on. And I was going back and looking at some numbers today and looking at our stats, and I think our batting average every game was like over 400 something every single game we played, and the boys lit it up. So it was fun to watch them play. And then on the flip side, we talked a little bit about the senior futures getting that new thing, and we'll talk of that a little bit more. But the juniors kind of get to see what's in store for them. So I ain't going to get too much ahead of myself on that one, but it just makes it an event to where it's second to none. There's nothing else like it out there, and we're going to always and will continue to try to educate the great state of South Carolina and these players and these families of how important this event is to these players' futures.
Well, Coach, and I'll put a picture up right here. And this was game one against North Carolina. And you look around the facility, and it's coaches everywhere. This is first game.
No doubt, first game, and that was one game, and that would have been every field. So that's 3 other fields would have been the exact same, like that. And that was for 3 games, and every single workout day was just like that, slam packed with college coaches all over the place. And every school that was there had at a minimum 2, if not 3 coaches that were there. So
you tell me that's the best event in the country, right? Since there's 3 college coaches from one school there.
I don't really think there is, and this has nothing to do with that I'm an employee from prep baseball. This is I used to go cover it when I was recruiting. When I was an employee of other universities, I would go cover it because you had to cover it because it was the one-stop shop, the best place, hands down. The only place you can go into one area and watch the best players from the states play and compete and work out and play and do it all in one area. And then on top of that, you can see how they interact with their teammates. You can see how they handle themselves during success. You can talk to their, the state directors. You can talk to, a lot of travel ball coaches are also there. You can talk to their travel ball coaches, and you can kind of get a feel of what that player really is, instead of just talking to their one coach. And of course, their coach is usually going to pump that kid up and tell them how great they are.
Yeah, it's nothing like it, Coach. And we received raving reviews from guys that attended as well, that you can go check out on social media. They're everywhere. Now, Coach, we'll highlight, and we throw the picture up of these guys. Obviously missing some POs and Ethan Offing, but nonetheless, you talked about it. The guys performed at a high level all 3 games that took place for Team South Carolina, especially to be the first team to go down there from South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the state has been represented over the past however many years that's been going on, but this is the first South Carolina only team that has gone down for the Futures game. Junior Futures been around now for a few years of representing South Carolina overall, but for the Futures, this is the first. And I will tell you, I mean, from workout, right? I mean, the players, I think it started off, I'll go ahead and throw it out. Charlie Scott lit up the world when he ran a 6.55, and it got people started talking right away, right? Because that's the first thing our guys did was run, and boom, 6.55, people started talking, and then all of a sudden, I'm down there at our juniors during the workout because of the overlap, and I'm asking people, and they're like, Taj Marchand's hitting 5 balls out in a row in BP. Ethan Offen's hitting line drives all over the place. They're talking. Everybody starts talking about a lot of these players the Slade Bird kid, man, that guy's got a good swing. Palmer Hornet can hit. You know, the names just start popping, and then we get into gameplay, and it started immediately against North Carolina. Palmer Hornet, I think, comes up. I think he was second that game. I'd have to go back and look. He's facing his teammate and laces a line drive and let out a few choice words when he get down there against one of his former team or his teammates in summer ball. And then Slade Bird line drive into right field, gets a fist pump, and it just kind of got the train rolling for those guys. Ethan Offen gets the line drive double, scores a couple runs. He gets the triple later on in the game. Marshawn got the single on the base and the nasty breaking ball that would have probably might have been in the dirt for a possible strikeout pitch. Charlie Scott scores on a hard ground out from second base, showing off his 6.55 speed. So those guys kind of got the ball rolling. Will Watson, line drive, hard line drive the other way right off the bat. Then to cap his weekend off on day 3, we had two
MVPs.
Dick's players MVP, player of the games.
Wish I could get that gift card.
Walk away with $50 gift card. So it was neat. Banks Wickersham had a couple big nights and hit himself a personal PR on the mound going 90 miles an hour, but also hitting a couple extra base hits in games and showing off his big time arm strength behind the plate as well. So guys did a lot of really, really good things. And I know I'm leaving people off, but it was
we're about to get there.
It was a lot of eye-opening play by our guys.
Coach, what I think is most impressive, a lot of times at the future games, you get guys, states that come out, and it's all about you, them. But I think as a South Carolina team, they wanted to win the game, and they were fired up from the get-go, which I think is very impressive considering there's that many college coaches around. They're still wanting to win the game no matter what.
No doubt. These guys played like they'd been playing together for 4 or 5 years.
Yes.
They played as if they were a team. And it was – the lineup is a rolling lineup, right? So we batted them. The lineup game 1 went lowest number to the highest. And then wherever they ended, that guy started the next game. So it kind of rolled in there. But it was almost like they kind of started their lineup. Oh, I'm at the top of the lineup. This is how I'm going to go. I'm going to start this thing. I'm going to play the game, right? Slade Bird a couple of times showing bunt, trying to get on base and do some things. And they're pulling for each other and base hits and fist pumps and trying to get the dugout going. You hit it on the head. They played to win. And I think that's one thing that in general this state has. We got a certain pride about ourselves, and I think we always want to try to show what we have and what we got around here, and that's one thing our players have always done, and especially when you look at it across college baseball, when you got kids from South Carolina and your state schools in here, they play with a little bit more because they want to show the world what the state has to offer, and these kids did. They let them know, and they played hard, and they wanted to win, and they want to compete, and they wanted to do it not only for themselves but for their state.
Fun event, Coach, but we're going to limit you here. We're going to limit both of us.
Uh-oh.
Obviously, we could talk about every guy on that team, as they all put up impressive numbers at some point in the event. But 2 each here for standouts for Team South Carolina in the future games.
Are we going just 2 position players, 2 pitchers, or just
2 overall,
2 total?
Coach? Biggest 2 total.
Coach, I'm gonna go the 2 not off the top for me here. I'm gonna go Slade Bird, my hitter. I'm gonna go a hitter and a pitcher here while you're throwing this at me. I'm gonna go Slade Bird. So Slade Bird, we've known a lot about Slade. We haven't seen a ton of Slade, but we knew a lot about Slade. Slade had been a converted outfielder, freshly converted outfielder, left-handed hitter, but we kind of knew a lot of the background, but he got in there from the get-go, brings a lot of energy, brings a lot of character to himself. carries himself the right way, plays the game the right way, hard-nosed player, and kind of that guy that will slice your throat as a player too, right? He's the gamer, he's the ball player that'll fight you, and when the chips are down, you want that guy on your side. You want him in your dugout. He's going to fight and scratch and claw, but he's got some ability. He can swing the bat. He's balanced. Oh, and by the way, he's got some power. He launched a home run in the game.
2 of
Pull
34.
side juice. Yeah, 2 of 34. He launched it out of the ballpark. He's got the ability to play all over the outfield, shows some athleticism, can move around, just extremely balanced in the box and really knows how to handle the bat. But just the way he kind of goes about and handles himself, and he is that guy that kind of you want on your team. You don't want to play against him. You want him on your team. So to me, I was extremely impressed by Slade and how he handled himself. He was a joy to be around, right? He was always
Yeah.
he was always talking. He was always running his mouth. We'll have some good content out of him later with being him mic'd up. Maybe if it wasn't too bad, we'll have some good stuff coming out on him. But he was number one for me. Number two, I'm gonna go kind of a returner-ish for
Oh,
a returner.
he took my
This
guy.
young man, this young man, he was a junior futures for us a couple years ago, but Will Fulcher, he came back. He started our third game for us against Maryland. Will Fulcher came out pretty much for his 3 innings was 87, 89, kind of a higher spin fastball, 24, 2500. Throws a hard slider, 77, 79 short. Good break in that thing, but it's a very quick arm. The slider at first, he kind of didn't really have the feel of where it was going, but then all of a sudden he kind of got it. And those Maryland hitters had a chance kind of right away because it was kind of a one-pitch guy with a fastball. But then the inning 2 and 3, he kind of got the slider going, and it was kind of over with. They didn't really stand a chance, but Will kind of competes. He's an athletic. He's a little bit shorter of a guy, but he competes and gets after it. And, Will, for me, right, we got a chance to watch him going into his freshman year, right? And he opened some eyes with that breaking ball then. And I remember we were playing New York, and they reached out and they go, man, this guy's good. And I think that night he ran his fastball up to like 84, 80, something like that around there a couple years ago. But it's been the slow progression for Will. A lot of times you see guys, they make the one big giant jump over the years, but he keeps making the good natural progressions, leading his way up. And again, right now, right, he's going into his junior year, which we forget, still young, and he's sitting 87, 89, which we've seen a tick better on your hot radar gun. But we've seen him, tick better, but he's 87, 89 with a plus breaking ball, and he competes and he's athletic and he gets after it. And here's the thing that I loved about him, and I heard this from another coach. Will threw on game 3 for us, which was day 4 of the event. He was down there the entire event. He was down there day 1 on workout day, got all his stuff done, hanging out with the team. Game 1, game 2, game 3 when he played. And I get it. Sometimes finances, some things can't happen, but he comes down there and hangs out and wants to be a part of the whole thing. To me, that says something about the young man as wanting to be around the team, wanting to be around the game of baseball and doing things. So those are my two, Slade and young Folch.
Well, you add the Fulcher there. He had a clue, right? He was a junior future guy, so he understood the event in itself. So that's why he wanted to be there for the whole entire week, because he knew what this was about.
No doubt. And then also on top of that, right, we talked about this a little bit as a group before. As a pitcher, you get around and you see what's happening. Now when it's time to pitch, you don't have as much as big eyes. You roll in day of and you hadn't comprehended what's happening. It's a lot. It can be intimidating. You go out there and there's 400 coaches floating around the park. As one of our guys, I had one of our players' dads told me that he turns and he goes, "Dad, Tony Vitello's right there." You know what I mean? Like it's that could be intimidating. So he sat there and was down there the whole time, and it becomes at the end of the week, it's just another day for him. So I enjoy being around him. He's a joy to be around, and again to watch him stuff those hitters from Maryland.
Coach, you stole my player. God
Sorry.
almighty. It's awful, man. I'm gonna go to the Midlands, Coach.
Come on down.
You ready for this? Stand out for me. I'm a big I like athletes, Coach. And Charlie Scott showed well from day one. 6'5". I think that's somewhat fast. It may be average. Who knows? He
Top
might
10
get.
in the entire event.
I mean, I think the Olympics is looking for somebody right now. Charlie, go get your flight to Paris. But anyway, obviously, I mean that wasn't the sell for him though. The moment seemed like it was never too big for him. He looked relaxed from the start. Coach, the speed plays in the outfield. Obviously, he made a diving catch. Game 3, correct?
Correct.
If I'm paying attention here. But obviously the range is good with the speed in the outfield. At the plate, showed pretty well against some pretty good arms throughout the weekend. Like I said, the moment was never too big. Swung the bat hot. But the most impressive thing to me was the IQ. And maybe that's an AC Florida thing. Who knows?
It's a Midlands thing. You know what I mean?
It's a Midlands thing. It's built different. If you go back to might have been game 2, Coach. We have a ground ball. He's at second base. Ground ball is hit. Throw to first. Kid scores from second to home. Just showing the speed off, and I think that's impressive there to know the situation, to know what's going on in the game, to score right there, and use the 6.55 speed. So obviously, I think the Falcons might have a good one right here.
Don't mess it up, Coach Hallett. You know what I mean?
Watch out. Coach, I'm going to cheat on the next one. I said 2, but we're going to lump this one into 1. I struggled with here since you took my other guy. But this one's easy. We're going to put them together, and you can allude to this.
I was leaving those 2 off for a reason, but
I know.
cheat on that one.
And I almost went with Banks Wickersham because obviously he showed very well on the bump and at the plate and behind the plate. He's going to be a stud, but probably the biggest 2 eye poppers of the event, correct? Alfing only played 2 games, but it felt like he played 5. It's easy for him. Saw it in and out, very smooth at shortstop position. At the plate, it's easy and legit with power and speed. And then you look at Marchand, Coach could be one of the best position players in the country, especially as he gets older and matures. Home run in game 3. Sammy Esposito called the home run. But those 2 guys, it's easy. It's easy for them. No matter the spotlight, the situation, it's easy.
You know, the good thing for Ethan, right, especially when you're in an event, you know, like these, and you're trying to show what you can do, and he had to leave, you know, he was not able to be there in game 3. He starts off at we put him at short in game 3, and Walker Cox was throwing them singers in there, ground ball after ground ball, going right at Offie, right at Ethan, every ball, and none of them were like very difficult plays, but showed how easy it was for him to. He made every play, made it look easy. And then Taj did the same thing. He got a couple balls, the 6-5 play on Sunday, where Cutshall got judo chop kicked in the jaw over there at third base. But like Taj, you know, both those guys making the right plays, the right reads. They both make it look easy because they're making the right play, what you're supposed to be doing. Where a lot of times players kind of struggle to make that. You know, these 2 guys are making the right reads, the right plays, and the athleticism speaks for itself. But the bat speed and the strength and lining balls all over the place, it's pretty simple. And Offing, I think he had one of the top 10 exit velos on BP day, was a 103.5. And then also in game day, you know, the first day with the double and the triple, and you know, driving in, I think he had 4 RBIs that first day, and
MVP.
Taj showed the you know, the power in BP, but also in the game with, you know, the 100-mile-an-hour ground ball that also that scored Scott on, and then also hit the home run on day 3. So both those guys showed everything they can do.
So overall, Team South Carolina was good, guys. Obviously, and more content will roll out as we roll out some spotlights, right, Coach? And pictures and mic'd up videos. All the above will be rolling out for one of the biggest event of the year in the country, no matter the scouting service. Now, we go to the babies for a minute.
To the babies,
Coach. It was a rough start to the weekend. 3 days, 3 L's, but son of a gun. The Team South Carolina babies won more games in 1 day than they did in 3 days, and finished as co-champs of the bronze bracket and finished 500. What a comeback.
Coach, we sat Saturday night. We walked out of Lake Point at 10 p.m. When we were supposed to get out of there to Notel, that was our earliest night out of there. We walked out of there 36 of 36 teams in the juniors bracket. 8 a.m. game, we roll in, and the boys all of a sudden, it became a different team.
Yeah.
We whip up on who did we play first on the first game? I can't even remember.
New Jersey.
New Jersey, whipped up on New Jersey, turned around, had a little break, had a game off, played Georgia too, or whoever, whipped up on Georgia.
Then
came back around Massachusetts, whipped up on them, and getting ready to play Tennessee for the bracket championship before the lightning and rains came and chipped us off. But it was the juniors is always a fun event, right? Because it's you get a bunch of kids from kind of all over, and you put them in a situation of where they've really ultimately probably never been in something before. And a lot of times they're getting a chance to play against kids that they haven't played, right? Our first game, we're playing Arkansas. They got the 6'2" right-hander on the mound, going 84 to 86 with a nasty changeup. And our guys are like, what in the hell is going on right here?
We ain't seen this in ever.
And we got, Coach Backage's son on the team. And I know he punches on the changeup, and Coach Backage is up there telling somebody, my son ain't never seen anything like this in his life. Right? And it's the truth. And then I think game 2 and game 3 was the same thing. We're facing those guys from Indiana that are 83 to 85 with the plus breaking balls. But that's the beauty of that event. They kind of get them put in a situation, do things they've never seen that they can kind of build upon and help them in the future, but also get that taste under their belt and then get to see what was happening on the other end. I know a lot of our guys, these juniors, got a chance to come down to the other end of the Lake Point and to the other pot and kind of got to see what it was about for the other thing. But it was also fun to see them kind of play and get a chance to win. And again, a lot of great feedback from some families and the players, and how thankful they were to be able to come down here and get into this event. And the thing that's important for this event to me, right? There's other events that are going on now. There's none that are going down there to represent the state. They're all individualized. And as much as baseball always gets lost up, and a lot of times you're going to a showcase, you're going to this, and it is about you. This is about going to represent your state and things, along with baseball is a team sport with individual parts in it. But that's what this is. And you get a chance to go down here, and whether it's, they're coming to represent South Carolina or Georgia or North Carolina, whoever else it is, it goes there and you get the, you can see back behind you got the jersey with, the state logo in the, up front. So it makes it neat for those kids.
And to add to that, I think it's, Coach, there's so much going on with these kids at this age, with things you can go to. And I think junior futures teams may have the most talent that you're going to see at that age. Because like you said, these kids have never seen it, and it's all together at one spot. I mean, we saw, 4 or 5 arms above 81 probably?
Yeah, if not more than that. Indiana, every kid in Indiana. every arm Indiana threw at us was better than that.
And at that age, you don't
Arkansas,
see that.
yeah, Arkansas was better than that. I mean, it was. And oh, by the way, you got guys that are hitting balls out of the ballpark. We were talking to a couple of the guys. We butchered a couple of double cuts. And because mainly not because they don't ever have to do them.
No.
They've never had to practice it because a lot of times they're playing in these tournaments, and one, they're using wood bats, and most 14, 13-year-old kids with a wood bat can't juice a ball over anybody's head. So they don't know how to go out and handle these things. So they're getting put in situations because kids now have a bat in their hand and they're good players and they can drive the ball out of the ballpark. We're getting ready to play Tennessee. I was watching them play the day before because they were in the same pod. They had a kid who's driving the ball, hit a grand slam. Driving the ball out of the ballpark, hitting it 340, 350, 360, whatever it is. Virginia, their coach came over, their guy came over and told us they have a guy who had a ball 105 exit velo. Like, are you serious? So
Pretty good.
They're playing against top-notch competition for a week period to kind of cap their summer, and this kind of helps it, right? I know it's 1 week, but it helps the player, and it also helps them to see what else is out there, so they know what they need to do to keep getting themselves better, so they can help be the best player they can be going down the road.
Coach. Now we went two for futures. One apiece here through JFG standout. Just one. Obviously, we could talk about each guy, and more content will roll out on those guys. But your biggest standout.
Man, I'm gonna go one here, and this is more because of kind of what he battled to get himself here.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go Bradley Runyon. Bradley Runyon was like I'm over exaggerating here a little bit. I'm gonna say the hospital, but he was sick, very ill, battling. He didn't have the flu, nothing like that, but was sick, laid up in his bed for about a week. Battled off his sickness to make his way down there on Saturday, with the possibility of if the games weren't delayed, him only being able to drive down to play 2 games Saturday and then be done and go home. And he came in, played Saturday, and then played all the games on Sunday. And not only did he play, you could tell he still wasn't all the way back 100% healthy. And he played at a high level, came out getting hits. Oh, by the way, hey, Bradley, are you able to go hit or go pitch? Yeah, I can pitch. And we threw him out there, and he was able to pitch well, go 77, 78 with a couple of good breaking balls. Gets us out of a big jam. I think we threw him in there, and I think the bases were loaded. Gets a couple punch outs. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. I'm out of there. But he was impressive just for the fact that it just kind of showed you kind of how important that was for him to want to be able to come down there for that event, and what it means to him to come to that event, and also how important it is for him to go play baseball. So I think that, to me, that was important for what he was able to come down there and do. There's a bunch of other guys that did a lot of other impressive things throughout the week, but just kind of how he handled himself and wanted to be down there for that, I think was very impressive for me.
Coach, we thought he was only going to play like 1 game. Hey, he ended up playing 4 or 3. So, yeah, he definitely showed well. Okay, Tom. 1 is tough. I'm going to go this guy.
It is. I thought you were going to cheat and do like 6 again on your one thing.
I almost went to Ebling Bros, but I didn't. I'm great guys, by the way. I'm going Mike Johnson,
yes.
Coach.
Who?
So Mike. We saw him at Team Carolina or Rising Stars Showcase at Columbia. Yep. Got to invite the junior futures. We knew the bloodlines there. And he shows up to the junior futures. Coach, if he barreled a lot of balls up, and I think they were 88 to 90 plus exit velocity when he barreled them up. And he had a lot of hits throughout the 6 games we had, and showed really well, not only at the plate, in the field, on the mound, all around, but was one of our better players. Big, tall, physical kid. Coach, I think he's got a chance to be pretty good, maybe. You know?
I think he's got a chance. And the boy's got some character about him.
Yes, he does. He's very, like, he has passive jokes.
Yes.
It's once he warms up, it's very, like, passive, but it's funny.
Yeah, and he kind of got hosed a little bit in that first game, right? How we had the lineups rolling in, we kind of slid him in, and he wound up not getting that bat that first game. And right, like we felt bad. We apologized to him, and right, we lead him off the second game. What's he do his first at bat? Just misses a double by like an inch.
It makes an adjustment.
Next swing, an inch and a half over to the right, double down the line. So he did have himself a big week, and he swung the bat and he bounced around, played some third, played first, kind of all over the place, got on the mound. He told me, he goes, I can play anywhere you need me. So I can do it all, and he can go around everywhere, and he is a monster. He's a big old strong kid. So I expect a lot of home runs hit out of him over his time down there at Georgetown.
Coach, who knows? Now we'll talk about it, and we'll talk about our standouts here. Senior Futures, last event here. Obviously, the first time of its existence, but overall a pretty decent event as well. Now they played at 12 a.m. every day, but it is what it is at that point. Obviously, the guys had a lot of fire in those late games, but 8 South Carolina kids that showed well, all 8 of them.
They did. I was thoroughly impressed. Right, you didn't know kind of how that event was gonna roll or take off. Right, first time ever doing that. We had 12 teams. They're all kind of combined, right? And we were combined with South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida combined, which you kind of would say there's probably not a better combination out there than us three. But you kind of compare, put those teams together, and we had the 8 kids on there. One last minute switch when we had a commitment the day before it starts, and Jacob Pettit was able to slide in there on that one. But to me, I was thoroughly impressed by the event in itself, in a way of number one, first and foremost, the talent right across the board, not only on our team, but of all the teams we saw, right? Every team we saw and faced, but when you just walked around, those guys played on the junior side. So we were seeing them play, whether it was at 8 a.m. or at midnight. They were going on, the talent was there. But 2, the amount of college coaches that stayed down on that side and watched those kids play. It was constantly packed and full to watch those 25s play. But our guys showed out as well. Whether it's the guys on the mound or our bats. And I think it started off, with the bats, making, lacing the double in the gap, one of the first hits. And, Samuel Schwab throwing his bullets down to second base. Lopez bouncing around the infield where he can play, swing. Pettit coming in late on it, but lacing line drives, showing his athleticism all over the place. I'm probably going to leave somebody off on that one, but then our arms came in. Gavin McDonald 2-way, kind of doing some things, and then our arms pitch on the last thing. But to me, that's an event that is going to grow from 12 teams. I'm just speaking out of hearsay or what I think, but I think that event grows in the future.
Well, too, and you look, we had a lot of coaches come up to us and ask about those South Carolina guys. So they have because they legitimately showed their skills and have some opportunities going into their senior year.
No question. I mean, it was pretty much every game, because the first 2 games we were late getting down to this one, due to the fact that the Futures game was going on, how the time frame, and by late 2-3 innings into it. But the Florida and Georgia guys were down there kind of running it. But every game we got down to it, there was a coach, some resemblance of coaches asking us about our guys. And I think that goes about their gameplay that they were there, because their workout got cut short because of the monsoon that rolled into the Atlanta area, the Emerson area, on that workout night. So they were having to show off their skills immediately in gameplay, and that opened a lot of eyeballs from the get-go. Now they got their BP in on the last day, and they would get some other stuff, but they were having to open up eyeballs immediately, and they did it right off the bat. So those guys were doing it, and we talk about the talent. I mean, you talk about the talent on our pitching staff, not only just the South Carolina guys, but I think the young man, I'm gonna miss his name, but right here, yeah, Brady Martin. I want to talk about. He ain't even a South Carolina guy, but I'm talking about him. Brady Martin was the starter on the first game of our team. Coach Martin's son, who's the head coach at Northwest Florida State, he faced 9 batters. The first batter flew out on the first pitch. He proceeded to strike out the next 8 batters in a row.
He won the MVP, coach.
He won the MVP. I mean, you ain't slopping up some bad stuff to do that. And then we had the other young man from Florida who was 91, 94. We faced the guy the last night that was 91, 94. I mean, we didn't face an arm under 88 miles an hour. We didn't face an arm under 88 miles an hour under the 3 games. And they're all uncommitted. And most of them were 90 plus. And they're all uncommitted.
It's legit.
That are out there. So it was an incredible event that was out there. And I thought our guys showed equally as well as anyone else.
Yeah. Coach, I can't wait for next year. We're going to have 17 teams next year. Team South Carolina goes what did I say, Coach? Combined 5-4 between the juniors and seniors. If you add in the or juniors and regular, if you add in the seniors, ends up being 7-5. As they went 2-1 as well. We thought there might have been a walk or a tie at the end there, but I couldn't coach third base good enough. Had a guy thrown out to end the game. I got fired. But overall,
until Saturday,
I'm gonna keep it PG. Anyway, Coach, best event in the country, no matter the time of the year. 3 separate events, all into one event during 5 days. It's incredible. Shout out to the Brett baseball staff, players, parents, that were able to bring their kids. As we know, it's an awesome opportunity and experience for everyone involved. Now, Coach, we move to next week. It's time.
It begins. The roster release.
First ever
tomorrow.
Super Sophomore Games is here. Start on Friday. I'll be there Friday night, so you won't see me Friday. But anyway, Coach, it's finally here. Actually, the Futures is Christmas. Super Sophomore Games is New Year's.
Coach, it's right. First time ever, like you said. So we're rolling up. This is more regionalized for this one for these guys. So we're going to roll in. We're going to take our South Carolina team up to North Carolina, Wake Forest, and High Point University. So workout will be Friday at Wake Forest. South Carolina's got 2 games on Saturday at Wake Forest and 1 game Sunday at High Point. So we'll roll in there and whip up on some teams. So this one for us, we're the most southern team, and we're playing all the teams from the East Coast are going to be there. So North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, New England area, Connecticut, New York. They're all coming down. We're going to have a big old weekend, and everybody's bringing 20 to 25 guys down, and we're going to battle it out. Now, at the same time across the country, the Midwest is having one, Florida's having their own. So there's a bunch of different areas that are having their own type of different ones. So kind of regionalized with it and instead of trying to cram it all into Lake Point with it, but we'll have a good time and with a bunch of talent. For us, it's a bigger roster. We're having 20 guys into this one. We're going to release this roster tomorrow. It's going to go out. Throw this thing out on the socials sometime tomorrow morning. It'll get put out there.
You're going to get a hint in a minute.
Wait a minute now. The listeners get to listen. But we'll go out there, and a lot of guys that were off that juniors team from last year that finished in the top 4 will be returning, along with some players added on. So we expect nothing less than a 3-0 outing this upcoming weekend up in North Carolina.
I can't wait. And maybe there'll be some home runs hit at the 200-foot field in Winston-Salem. It just means less. And we'll go to Real Carolina Part 2 on Sunday, hopefully. The content's going to be the same as it was in the future games. We'll have some mics up, and we'll take a drone picture of the 200-foot field. We'll have all that out for you guys on the social. Now, Coach, we're going to go 2, okay? Super Sophomore Games players to watch. Now, the roster hasn't been released, but you're about to get a hint of at least 4 guys that are going to be on that roster.
You put it on.
You're not going to go 2 straight because you might take my guys. You're going to go 1. I'm going to go 1.
So
you're going to go.
I'm going to go. Okay, so I'm going 1 here. I'm going to go the first one. I'm going to go with the big left-hander, Connor Salerno, off the bat, baby. I'm going to go Connor Salerno, one of the top left-handers in the nation, coming in. Legion Collegiate, big left-hander up to 90, good breaking balls. Little hint, too, he's going game 1 for us.
Oh, don't tell the other team.
I'm telling him. I'm going to tell him. I'm going to let him get a scouting report. It ain't going to matter because he's going to stuff them for a few innings against old New York. They ain't going to know what hit him. But we've had a chance to watch Connor pitch in-game action. He's been to he's a transplant from North Carolina, so we can take one of theirs while they've taken some of ours. But he's been to events up there. He's obviously one of the best players in our state, but he's one of the best players in the country, eliminating left-handed arm. But he's fantastic. So we're really looking forward to watching him throw. To be honest with you, he was on the cusp of being on the Futures Game team for us. But with the rules and all the changes of recruiting, we want to give those 26s as many opportunities. But if those rules weren't if they were still open to be recruited there, he would have been on the board for us to take down to the future. So it kind of speaks of his talent level.
Coach, he's pretty good, right?
Yeah, he's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Pretty solid.
Coach, I wrote down
4.
No, hold on. I wrote down 4 names on my paper, and I don't know which way to go.
Coach, the good thing with this,
I know where I'm going right here.
The good thing with this, we can't get any of them wrong.
Coach, you ready?
Let's do it. Oh, the state champ too, baby.
I'm going with this. It just means more, a little different. I'm going with Graham Coleman, Coach.
Midlands, baby.
We obviously Super Sophomore Games, we're going to see good arms. You just talked about Salerno. Obviously, other states are going to have legit arms. I'm interested to see how Coleman hits against those arms. The kid flat out hits. We took him to Junior Futures. Kid hits. He hit in Lexington. So I'm interested to see how he performs against those arms, which my belief is the kid is going to hit. Really good kid, quiet kid, but I think he's got a chance, Coach. And I think he's going to perform well throughout the weekend. Excited to see him step on the field and hit.
and hit.
And hit. So I'll leave it to you, Coach. Let's see if you
Coach.
take one on the list right here.
Coach, I'm gonna take another state champ right here.
Here it is. I knew you were going to.
Oh, I'm gonna take another state champ. I'm gonna take a youngster. I'm gonna take a youngster. I'm gonna go position player this time. Youngster Trip Ostergaard down there.
Coach, I already
James
knew
Allen.
who you were going to when you said another state champ.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been Spivey.
Could have been, but you weren't about to go back to back Lexington, guys.
back to back. Trip. We talked about one of his teammates a lot earlier with Taj, and a lot of people compare these two together down there at James Allen, and rightfully so. But just speak upon Trip. I mean, he's a athletic infielder that can kind of do a lot of things with the glove and with the bat. It really kind of gets that top hand going through the bat. Kind of a guy that can really handle the bat and do a bunch of things, across the field, and is just very impressive of how he handles himself and plays the game. Now, the only thing let's see if he does better this year if we do it. Maybe the in-game interview was a little stagnant last year between me and him. Maybe it was me. It could have been me and not him. But maybe we'll go give him a second chance. I don't know on that one, but Trip to me has a chance as he continues to progress to become one of the better position players, in the region, in the state, in the region, in the country. But he's got a chance to kind of keep taking that path of being a superstar.
Coach, we talked about it. A lot of people compare him and Marchand. I think there's some similarity there with Oscar, only a year behind Marchand. But I think James Allen might have the best two there in the state, Coach. Ostergaard obviously showed well at Junior Futures, and he's back again.
Back again.
Island boys. Better than you. CCY. Not better than yesterday, better than you. Coach, this one might surprise you too. There's two other names down. I had Ostergaard written down, seeing what you were going to do there. Coach, you ready?
I knew it.
Coach, I had Spivey written down too, but I didn't want to go back to that. Lexington guys, we know how good Spivey is. Coach, but Cody Branham, we're going little old Central here. Coach, another Junior Future kid. Still remember his home run he hit against Louisiana in a tie ball game in Junior Future.
Ooh.
Actually, it was not a home run; it was a bomb. To be that young, but catcher, we know he can catch and receive. He's also a very gritty player. He's got some moxie about him. He gives a shit, as they would say. But there's power in the bat, and he's progressively gotten better since we've seen him. I'm so excited to see how he faces those arms as well, but not only faces them in the box, but receives those guys as we have really good arms coming to pitch for Team South Carolina. So two different things there. Seeing how he hits and receives. Interesting. But he's going to perform. He's from Little Old Central, just like being from Little Old Chester, about the same thing. It is. Central's about the Patrons. Well, they might have more.
They got a Roses?
Coach, they might have a Piggly Wiggly, not a Roses.
Coach, I got a pig right down the street here in Columbia.
Look, see what I'm talking about? Little Old Central in the house, Coach.
In the house, man.
I mean, in the house.
In the house. What's up, Trent?
Trent, I don't know if I want to mess with Trent with that profile picture. Little Old Central, they lift in Little Old Central like Cody Branham does to say he hit that home run against Louisiana. Coach, but four guys that we're predicting to stand out. Obviously, there's a lot more. We can talk about them all, and we'll talk about those.
That's next week.
That's next week. We'll talk about those standouts after Team South Carolina goes 3-0 and is named the Real Carolina Part 2. We're here. We'll be ready to roll. Maybe I won't get people thrown out this weekend.
You will. It's all right. It's inevitable.
We got to test those arms, Coach. We got to show those arms off.
We're just that's more so what it is. It's showcase, so we're showcasing.
We're trying to
the
showcase
arms.
the other team.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. Coach, I'm out of content. You got anything to add here?
Coach, we need to get into one of these days. It ain't going to be today, but we had some breaking news break out over the week about recruiting going on with the new scholarship rules.
That Coach, and that's huge news.
It's huge news. We can kind of touch on it. I think I know in the company we're gonna put some stuff out, but right, they're gonna have the opportunity. Schools are gonna have the opportunity to go up to 34 full scholarships and have a max roster of 34. So, obviously it's going to affect a lot of rosters. It's going to affect a lot of recruiting, and all those things moving forward. So it's going to be, the days and the old ways of recruiting 20-man recruiting classes, I have a feeling are going to be over with. Talking to a lot of those coaches this past weekend, that's kind of the old news, the old style. But we'll have to kind of wait and see. I think a lot of people a lot of coaches were waiting to see what their schools, what their institutions, and more importantly, what their conferences were going to come up before they kind of want to do. I kind of feel bad for a lot of those 25 class kids because they're kind of caught in the middle and having to see what they're going to do. Because as we all know, a lot of schools have 40 to 50 kids on campus that they're about to roll into campus right now. And those kids are going to have to go somewhere. Next year, they're going to have 34 on campus. Yeah. So it's going to be some interesting times. So they're going to have a chance to have kids are going to have a chance to have more money, but there might be less opportunities. But there might be more opportunities at what people so-called think are lesser schools. But we all know they're not lesser schools. If you get an opportunity to go play college baseball, it doesn't matter where it is, then you have one hell of an opportunity. So we'll dive into this as some of this starts to kind of unwind because there's a lot to unpack. I don't think people know, but people that didn't follow or don't know, but this opportunity to get up to 34 full scholarships. So put it this way, we're betting on a South Carolina, a Clemson, and North Carolina, Coastal Carolina, I'm here in NC State or something like that, are going to get 34 full scholarships. And they can only have 34 players on campus, is the rumors. Say an institution says you can only have 20 scholarships. Well, then they can give out 20 out of their 34. They can divvy that up.
Spread it out.
They can spread it out. So
which is more than what you had previously.
It's more than what you had previously. Exactly. But so we'll have to kind of wait and see a little bit. People are still trying to figure out what's going on, but we'll get into this when we kind of figure it all out and go on there. But on the flip side of that, kids that are out there waiting around, if you have something, you might want to gobble it up. So if you think you're maybe better than something, you might want to take that next offer you got out there and what it is. So there's, again, any type of opportunity to go play college baseball is a great opportunity.
And Coach, we hope the viewers will get insight into this new NCAA rule as we get those college coaches on the podcast coming up at the end of fall, as they really dive into the rules and how that affects them, and maybe there's some greater insights there as we sit down with those guys.
No question. We'll hear it here first.
You always hear it here first. What you mean? Coach, that's going to do it. If you don't have anything to add here, we're right at an hour. An incredible show. So we'll wrap this thing up, and we'll see you guys next week after those Super Sophomore games. Make sure you're staying tuned to the social media content, Instagram, Twitter. What else we got? TikTok, Facebook. It's all going. We'll have some future games content roll out this week as well. Pictures, mic'd up, all that kind of stuff.
Stories are already rolling. We had the stat story go out today, so they're already rolling. Junior stat stories going out tomorrow, so it's rolling.
Make sure you stay tuned to that and see how Team South Carolina performed at that event. So for episode 89, that's going to do us. From all of us here at Prep Baseball South Carolina, we hope you have a great week.